about that.
That's good. All right. Well, let me open up everything.
Page.
How you guys feeling about having another test this week?
Yeah.
I was actually ready to take it on Tuesday.
Really?
Wow.
Because I saw over the weekend that we had a test on Tuesday, and I was like, oh man. So I just studied for it, and then it got postponed. So I was like, oh, that's good. I don't think I was that ready for it really.
I'm sure you do a lot better now, but yeah, you'll do a lot better than us now.
I don't know about that, but
Probably. I'm leaving for the weekend, and so I'm probably going to take it on Monday.
yeah, I'll probably take it Monday too, just have as much time as possible to study. Really.
Yeah, true that.
I don't know that. I feel like even if I know some things, it's just there's some tricky questions. I just feel like.
Yeah, probably.
Well, that's how the last test was for me.
I feel like with it being open book, I get kind of lazy and I don't study as much as I normally would for a closed book test.
That's true.
So I feel like I can just find the answers pretty easily if I want to.
Yeah, and then the problem is that you look up an answer and you see something, but then there's something else. There's something else that you didn't see that would change the answer or something.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, if you don't understand the stuff, then you're still gonna get it wrong.
Yeah, so I try to just read everything, and then I don't know. I don't study that much, so I kind of just read it. I don't really memorize anything.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I do that.
All I do is highlight for this class. Don't
Yeah.
really take notes. I do flashcards too.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, sweet. I'm looking at the instructions, and it says that the first thing that we should do is discuss each of our examples, and then we'll go from there, I guess. So, for my example, basically what I talked about was me working in the student collections office. So I work in the Kimball and the Bursars, and there's so I basically said that we keep notes on every conversation that we have with students. And sometimes there's students that are consistently mean and non-cooperative and not willing to make payments or anything like that. And so in those situations, when I read the notes and see that somebody has a history of not cooperating, I'm a lot less lenient as far as giving them extensions on the due dates for what's due at the school and stuff like that.
Okay.
Or maybe I might be a little more stern with them than normal,
Yeah.
There's a little bit of bias there. That was my example. And I think it's because of association with my coworkers and stuff like that. And the job.
Yeah. Mine was kind of like that too. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing though, I mean, an employer is obviously going to be biased to people that he knows. If he knows somebody, then you have a better chance of getting the job, most likely,
Yeah.
Stuff. So that was my example. I was, because at the beginning of the semester, I had to do interviews. I had to interview people to be on the Disciple Leader Council. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of, because there are some people they interviewed that I already knew, and I kind of was a little more biased towards them, where they, got the position a little easier than people that I didn't know yet.
Yeah.
I still got people that I didn't know on my council, but the people that I knew had a better chance, most likely, if I knew that they were hardworking, and it would work against them though if I knew that they weren't hardworking.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's still counts, because I feel like it's almost a good thing, because it's networking, and you kind of use what you know about them in the hiring process. But I still thought it would be considered biased. But
yeah, that's bias, I think.
I think it's definitely bias. Maybe not a super negative or unethical form of bias, but still bias.
Still bias. Yeah.
I would say networking probably relies on bias.
Yeah.
True.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of like you guys. I have a job on campus. I work at the alumni office. I just do data entry work there. And so every day, we get the previous day's work printed off, and it's like passed around to each, so we each like check each other's work to make sure there weren't any mistakes in like entering the information, like typos or like if we didn't follow procedures properly. And so we always just try to make sure that nobody else has errors and correct them if we need to. So, but we also like every semester we break up into 4 teams, like the House Cup, we do like the Office Cup, and try to get points. And whoever gets the most points at the end of the semester, wins a prize. And obviously errors would count against you. So if I'm checking someone's proofs, someone's work that's on my team, I guess there are definitely ambiguous situations where like, okay, this could be considered an error, but also, maybe it was just the computer's fault, or maybe, they're just new, so they didn't know that we do it this way. So I'm not going to count that as an error this time. So I think it was, what was the term they're talking about? Oh, attachment bias. So I had an attachment to those people and attachment to the situation. And so I was definitely biased towards giving favorable outcomes that would benefit me better. It never really worked the opposite way where I was like, oh, they're on the other team, so I'm definitely going to give them errors, but definitely would play in my favor without even necessarily realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, attachment bias. I think we all gave an example of attachment bias.
Yeah. I didn't know if mine was familiarity or bias or attachment bias. I feel like it's almost, because I read about familiarity bias. It's like when you're more familiar with somebody. What's the difference you think between those two, like familiarity bias and attachment bias?
The way that I understood it was familiarity, discounting, and escalation. Those were all different traits that attribute to unconscious bias. And the three biases, the three forms of bias are ambiguity, attachment, and approval. That's the way I.
And I think they said familiarity specifically, like it's easier to be mean to someone you don't know.
Yeah.
So like
subconscious forms of bias.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess like Andreas, you'd like if someone was a jerk to you, like during your collection call, but you knew them, you might still treat them differently than someone who's a jerk to you that you didn't know. So I guess that would be like an example of that.
That's true.
Wait, let's see. Discounting, that one. Let's see. Oh, that's the one where we don't pay attention to like immediate consequences. Or we don't pay attention to long-term consequences, right?
Well, I don't have the reading pulled up.
Hang on, I'm getting all this stuff open up too.
Oh, when like you're biased and basically you don't want to make something seem as bad in the moment, and so you just kind of like discount it and like you'd rather have something escalate up to the future. Well, yeah.
Okay. Right, and then like it takes it getting really bad before you actually do anything about it or recognize it.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember reading that.
Then escalation is a bunch of little things adding up. Cool. All right. And the next part of the group discussion, it says, what situations did you identify where bias exists outside of the audited in the reading? How big of an issue is bias in everyday ethical situations? What do you guys think?
I don't know how big of a problem it is in everyday situations. I mean, like in networking, like we talked about, for example, it's almost a good thing. But in accounting, like what they talked about, it's obviously bad because then you're just trying to, like you're just doing the accounting for a firm just so to please them. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna just because if you don't do it good, then they're gonna fire you. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the problem. I guess it just depends, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that bias is, I think it's most bad outside, in or outside of accounting when people are not aware of it. I think if you're aware of it, then you can adjust for it. You can even like use it as to your advantage, manipulate it. Like I'm sure professors that ask us to grade ourselves use that as an opportunity to gauge how honest we are and how much they can trust us. So they would want us to be biased in that way, or they would look for bias and take advantage of those situations. So I think that's where bias is like a good thing if it's known, but it's a bad thing if you don't recognize that it's happening.
Yeah. No, I think it can work for good or bad, like you're saying with networking and bad. I mean, you don't want to like get, I don't know, give somebody too much of a break when they don't really deserve a break, like, or help in an area, or if it's illegal, like, that's,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably not too good.
So what situations did you guys see?
What situations did we see?
Yeah, I'm sorry, did you come up with like outside of accounting?
Oh, I was just using my example. Like, I don't know. Let's see. Like, all of us said like in work or just in volunteer leadership positions, but I guess like other situations you would see like bias, I guess. I don't know. Are there any examples we can
I
give that
thought of
are
one.
outside of the workplace?
I had one.
One that I thought of could be, for example, if a cop was pulling somebody over and it turned out to be their son, then they're probably going to be more biased towards their son and not give him a ticket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
True.
And if it wasn't their son, they're more likely to give him a ticket or something like that. Somebody they know. If a cop pulls somebody over and it's somebody they know, they're more likely to not give them a ticket, but just a warning. That's just one example I just thought of.
Okay. So example I thought of, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with how doctors test you for like ADHD, but I went through the testing a while ago, and they give you like this pamphlet, and you rate yourself on certain things, like how often this happens to me, or like 1 through 5, and based on your score, like the higher it is, the more likely you are to have it, and the lower it is, less likely, and whatever. And so like this wasn't the case, but if I had like wanted to get Adderall for whatever reason, because I guess it's a really highly abused drug, or if I just felt like I really want this because I feel like I can't concentrate in school, then I would probably definitely be biased towards giving myself a higher score. But they always also give one to one of your parents or guardians to do the exact same thing. And actually, it's interesting because my mom is really against medicating anything when it's avoidable. She doesn't really like ADHD diagnosis in general. She's just very, very hesitant about that kind of thing. And she always like counseled me not to like even look into that. And it turns out that she actually gave me a pretty decently lower score than I gave myself when she did the test results. So yeah, so that was clearly a case of like where my bias versus her bias like brought us out to very different results, even though we're talking about the exact same person. But I guess it's kind of an interesting situation because like the doctor was aware of my mom's bias and also aware of like my potential bias, just being me talking about myself. And so I think he made his decisions based on that. But I think that's definitely a case of bias, and I think that can exist in a lot of things like that.
Yeah. Another example, like what I'm trying to do right now is get an internship for next year, and they advise as a junior to like start emailing the recruiters and building a rapport with them and like asking them questions and things like that. And so I have a certain company that I want to work for, and I'm sending them emails back and forth. So I'm trying to get them biased towards me. So, but that's like, yeah, it's a situation. That's in the workplace, but yeah. I mean, it can happen with professors too, I'm sure, like you get really close with the professor and they might be a little more lenient, especially if it's an English teacher. I mean, English is
true. Subjective.
It's pretty subjective sometimes.
Do you think we can have bias towards, like, I guess towards our religious beliefs or political beliefs? Okay, I think that's actually pretty obvious. When I thought about political, like obviously people have bias in those cases too.
Yeah.
Like skimming articles that you don't agree with, and then like really reading through ones you do agree with and being like, yeah, see, this is the truth.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
No, that definitely happens. Yeah.
Like literally in like every aspect of life, there's some bias.
Mm-hmm. I guess we like ourselves and we want to be comfortable.
Yeah. So the next question that, well, it says to do some of the following questions as a guide. Yeah. So I guess we don't have to do all of them. We just have to do whatever takes up our time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think we just have to write a paragraph about the things you learned. So
There you go. Okay. Nice. Yeah, so I'm an accountant, and so this article is actually pretty interesting to me. I mean, I'm studying accounting, not an accountant yet, but I mean, I'd heard of like the Sarbanes-Oxley Act before, and like how that changed things, and then how that gave more power to the SEC. It's basically the executive committee for accounting, and I don't know. As accountants going through accounting, they require you every year to go through and take ethics classes and take a certain hour course load of ethics classes for the year. So you're just up to date on that. Do you guys think that has like a big influence on whether they're more ethical or not?
I think it helps. I mean, according to the article, I mean, like, they say it's still not enough even after the act. I mean,
Yeah.
but obviously, yeah, I think it helps than what
Okay.
it was before. They need to have some, more standards, and it gets to the point where I don't know if you could completely get rid of unethical behavior. You know what I mean? Like, people need to choose to act for themselves at some point.
I
Yeah.
think I think having classes about ethical behavior helps people who are ignorant in their unethicalness. The people who are
Yeah.
just like who don't realize they're being unethical, they would be like, "Oh, dang, I should stop doing that." Or people who are honest and just ignorant, maybe, or people who just are sincere about it, they would definitely learn from those things. The people who are intentionally um, unethical, who are like, obviously criminals aren't going to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that." Um, and also, if people don't even know because it's just bias and not even something they can like recognize or even do anything about, like the article talked about, you can't just like teach people how to not be biased.
Yeah. Because it
And
was saying like
maybe
a lot of the bias was unconscious. So
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking maybe they should do something with the companies that hire accountants so that they can't just fire accountants that don't favor them.
oh,
Because
like the
Mm-hmm.
auditors.
yeah, auditors. There you go.
And
Not.
the funny thing is about there's internal auditing and then there's like external auditing, and I think they're doing more to try to help counteract that. Where like you're an auditor for that company, they hire you to audit them, but if you don't do a good job, then you get fired. But um, I was reading something about that, how auditing is changing for accounting and how they're trying to be better about that. But yeah, it's definitely can have some self-serving bias a lot in accounting. So
Right. I mean,
my
what's the difference? An auditor is somebody that looks at the accounting information, and not
yes.
okay.
Um, one of my teachers, Brother Packard, he I don't know if you've heard of him, Cody, since you're like you said you've taken 201 before, I think.
Taking Brother Packard right now.
Taking Brother Packard right now, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a CFO for like a mining company, and
Mm-hmm.
he had multiple situations as a CFO where the board they ask him to do something and makes the income statement or just whatever financial statements they have, make them like the profits appear more or something else, something or other, and he just had to say no. And there's a couple positions. I'm not sure if it was a CFO or not, but there's a couple positions in accounting where he had to walk away. He was in a management position, and they asked him to do something. He said he couldn't do it, and so they fired him. It's like
Wow.
you think that wouldn't happen today? Like you're like, oh, we've gotten better. Like we've improved rules and regulations, but it still happens. If there's opportunity, like in accounting, you're taught that there's a triangle. If there's opportunity, if there's motive, and then if there's a need, that's like if you have two of those three things, then somebody's likely going to commit fraud. So,
Mm-hmm.
or no, sorry, it wasn't a need; it was a rationalization. Is the last one.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
actually what we're learning about right now in accounting. We're learning about fraud, and we've been talking a lot about different companies that have committed fraud.
Do you
Yeah,
see that project where you go and like watch a business and see how their internal controls are?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, we've done that a little bit in class.
yeah.
You found it?
It's not like a project or anything. Kind of just like we just looked at different companies like in class. We looked up their like financial statements and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about how you shouldn't have just one person over in charge of cash. Like you need to have those internal controls that'll make it so there's more than one person with like segregation of responsibilities. I think it's called.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
no
think that
one.
helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is that like so this article all about bias and how you can't really regulate that away. So like we could like stiffen controls to the point of like choking the life out of a business and making it like impossible to work every day, but that would still wouldn't get rid of bias. So if that's the case, how do we actually eliminate bias? Is it even possible to actually overcome bias at all?
I think you can reduce bias. You can't completely eliminate it. Like in the article, it said, oh, there's like one situation. Well, it's talking about how if they educated them before they took on their roles, then afterwards they were more cognizant when they were being biased and they were
Mm-hmm.
less likely to be biased. And so like before you get in a situation and develop an idea of certain things, like you probably should be educated about that. So maybe like the individual companies, like when you go and work for them, they're like, okay, so you are going to be in a position to help your clients, but here's the deal. Like this, they need to, before you even assume the role, they probably need to give you a rundown of what you should do. That's what I think.
Yeah.
You can't eliminate it, but you can reduce it.
I think
You at
also
least-
like
So they know like if what they're doing is right or wrong, you know?
I think also like making the putting the rewards and the motivation in different places. Like they talked about how they showed the different studies have been done, different examples where if someone's motivated, if their reward was based on the other person, on like inflating the other person's numbers, like with a coin estimation how much is in the jar, then the person was more likely to be biased and to like even um, influence the other person to like estimate too high. That way he get paid more. But if they were going to be paid more based on how accurate they were to what's actually true, not on what their estimation was, then they were more likely to they're still going to guess high, but by a lesser amount. So I think if the motivation is different, where like they talked about how auditors are their main motivation is to build a good relationship with the client and to maintain that good relationship, and because a lot of times their job and the whole contract relies on it. Um, so I think so if the motivation changes, if their sole purpose is not to, you know, ensure a contract or keep a good relationship, but their purpose is just to do their job because they have a contract already, or it's understood that this is just a one-time job, then I think those kind of situations you'd be less likely to be biased.
Yeah, definitely have the motivation, like make sure they have the right motivations and kind of deter like the wrong motivators. I think that's important.
For sure.
For my accounting class, we actually had an ethics day. So in my my 321 class, which is income taxation, we just straight up had an ethics day, and he had us vote with our feet, and so we went to opposite sides of the classroom, and it's kind of interesting to see like how many people like, will vote opposite you. You know, there's like the class was divided probably like 50-50 or 60-40 at some points. It was pretty even, but like there's
Wow.
like, a couple situations where like imagine. So one of the situations, for example, was imagine that you applied to work somewhere and you don't sign a contract saying you'll work for them, but you tell them over the phone that, yeah, I'll work for you guys. And you basically do an oral contract. You say, yeah, I'll work for you guys at such and such time. And then it's been like 6 months. It's like a month before you're supposed to go work for the other company. And then the company that you really wanted to work for and applied for, they call you and say, hey, we'll offer you a position to work like later on. Would you want to take it? So the question was, would it be unethical to like take that position with the company you wanted and not go with the other one, even though you didn't sign a contract? And it was interesting. Like it was like 50-50. Some people were saying like, yeah, it'd be unethical because you're only giving the other company 1 month notice. So they stopped looking for another employee. And then of course, like the other people are saying unethical. They're like, it's your career choice. It's like what you want to do.
That's hard.
It's a hard, yeah. I said that you should still go with it, but I guess it's just that person's mistake for agreeing to something before they were sure,
Yeah.
So
I don't know what I would do in that situation. I'd probably, if I signed the contract, would that be considered breaching a contract if you
Well, you didn't sign a contract. That's the thing. You just told
Oh,
them
you
over the
did it.
phone. Yeah, you just told them over the phone 5 months ago. Yeah, I'll work for you guys. And when it comes to actually working for them, like a month till you're gonna work for them, you send them an email saying, "Hey, I can't work for you guys anymore," and you don't give them a reason why.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of if I was in that situation, I'd probably go with the company that I wanted to work with, but
Yeah.
I would tell them like why, because I got a different job offer. I mean, like,
Yeah. You'd have to tell them why. I feel like you can't just.
Yeah.
you can't just drop them.
Yeah, because then that's just unprofessional, in my
'Cause, I
opinion.
mean, as a company too, I mean, they should be prepared for stuff like that. I guess I don't know. I
And
think they,
that's what other people said. One of the guys that was on the other side, he's like, I've worked in recruiting and hiring before. He's like, and companies account for that. They have those losses already figured out, and they anticipate that. But the teacher's like, that's not the question. The question is it unethical? And we're like, oh, freak.
Dang it.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's a tricky one. I don't know what I would do in that situation.
yeah. Do.
Hmm.
So what were some of the radical reforms suggested by the authors? Like, what did they suggest any solution?
Yeah, they came in and they said basically, let me see.
Oh yeah, it says it must be to eliminate incentives that create self-serving biases.
Yeah, that
hmm
last paragraph or the last section.
Yeah, they would have it so that the big accounting companies have to rotate clients every so often. That way, like at the end of the contract, they have to rotate, and they would have set contracts. And so they want the contractual details specified and unchangeable from the beginning of the contract. That way, you can't be rehired at the end of the contract, so you have no motivation to treat them good or to make them like you. You know that
Yeah.
once the contract's over, you're done.
And like I was saying earlier, it says in that last paragraph they need to eliminate the fear or the threat of being fired for delivering an unfavorable audit.
hmm
Somehow make it so they can't fire you for auditing differently than they want you to.
hmm
They can eliminate that somehow.
They
Yeah.
also they also want to get rid of allowing companies to hire accountants away from the auditing firms. So
Yeah,
like if you audit a company, you can't get hired by them for at least 5 years or something like that.
which is interesting because that's kind of what I want to do, honestly. Like I want to work for a company, an auditing firm called PwC, and
hmm
hopefully I'll be able to get some clients that are like really like Fortune 500 clients, and then go and work for them. That's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's like the path that everyone's supposed to follow. Like talking to accounting professors, that's what they say, that you start in a big firm and you start in public accounting, and then some clients try to like wait because they like you, and then you find a job that you like and you take it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It says we believe that auditors should be barred from taking positions with the firms they audit for at least 5 years. So does that mean like from the time that you drop that client and you give it to somebody else, it's 5 years from then, or for 5 years from the time you start like helping them?
Can you only audit for them
Probably
once?
just the time you audit them.
From the one time you audit them.
Right, because you'd have an end of a contract, and probably 5 years from after the contract date.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
So you'd have to. How much would you get paid every audit?
Accountants get paid quite a bit, especially if you're auditing like a Fortune 500 company. So
So if you think you could just audit for like one company like a month or like a year or
I don't know. I don't think they audit that frequently, like once a year for sure, but I don't know how often. Maybe once a quarter.
hopefully you could just audit once and then be able to live off of it for a year, you know?
Hmm.
But if you work for a firm, then you have multiple clients that you work with
Yeah.
on big projects and stuff like that. And
Yeah, you're not gonna have just one for sure.
I figured.
unless you're like, if you're an independent auditor by yourself, then I guess you'd be kind of up a creek with these regulations.
That's not the way to go though. You definitely make more with the company.
Oh yeah.
hmm
You guys are both in business, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
What?
oh, I'm studying accounting.
Oh, you're studying accounting too. Okay, sweet. Are you further than me, or are you?
Nope, I'm gonna start 321, 333, and 301 next semester.
Oh
So I'm
gosh,
getting accounting classes.
some people are doing that this semester, and it's awful.
All three of those together.
It's rough.
Yeah,
I'm just a business
I
major.
took 301 and 321 together, and that's a pretty big course load. If you're taking 333 together, prepare to be like no social life. I'm taking 333 next semester.
Oh,
Um,
sweet. Who are you
yeah,
taking it
my
from?
course load this uh what 333?
Yeah.
I've heard Clark is good. He's just really strict, and then Campbell, I I've heard like the same thing. So I'll probably take it from Clark. But one thing that I've heard
Hmm.
as far as taking the 333 class is take part B at the beginning of the semester and then take part A at the end. Because there's two sections, you get 1.5 credits for each one, and
Hmm.
like they're just one block, right? And
Yeah.
part B is a lot harder than part A, and so take that at the beginning. At least that's what I've heard.
That makes sense because you're not burnt out at the end of the semester trying to do the hard stuff.
Well, yeah, and you're not burnt out, and you don't have finals to worry about. So
I don't know. I work at 1 o'clock every day, and so I'm planning on just taking my classes in the morning, and then I have free time before work. Planning on just like sitting in the accounting lab all day and doing homework.
yeah, I registered
I'll
next
get through the
Monday.
classes.
I registered next
Hmm?
Monday, so yeah.
Dang.
Wait, when do you register, Cody?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Oh, so you already got that all figured out.
Yeah. Yep.
Dang.
Dude, nice.
Do you guys want to work on this?
Paragraph that we're supposed to write.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could.
Let's.
Oh, hey, if you're an accounting major, what will you do about what you learned from reading this article?
Oh, there's a question.
Two accounting majors.
That's tough because you can't just like get hired at a big firm and say, okay, I'm going to do things differently. I don't think it works that way.
I think it has to come
Um,
from the top down.
absolutely. But I think we can do things. I guess we could do things differently in the way that we like interact with our clients. Maybe make it clear up front, like, hey, I'm going to be as honest as I can. If I see stuff, I'm going to say stuff before I put it in the in the income
Yeah,
statements or whatever. I'm going to make sure to tell you about it, so how we can turn these errors on their heads. So I guess that's the best thing I can think of to do is like work with a client so they know ahead of time and so that you could talk to them. By the way, here's what we're going to publish next week, and here's all the ways that you're screwing up.
yeah. And I mean, you could also suggest to the employer, like, hey, you could have some more controls here, or you could do this like a little differently, like if you're in a position to. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I think all you can really do is just change how you're gonna
How you-
react, or change the way you do things with your client.
yeah. I guess now that I read this, you could just try to not be biased as much with clients. Be careful. It's easy to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is being willing to shoot yourself in the foot if you have to do what's right.
Yeah, that's what Brother Packer
Yeah.
has had to do, and I'd be totally willing to do that. It's on,
Sure.
it's on the record. Okay.
YouTube video when I'm in court, like, nope, I said I would do it.
Yeah.
This is evidence.
So for the writing, do you guys just want to each write like 2 sentences of what we thought was like the most interesting or most beneficial?
Yeah.
Sure.
And
How
then we
about we don't write that in the Google Docs right away? We write it in like our own Word document and we'll paste it and talk about it.
okay.
It'll reduce bias to what we're writing.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm gonna do that right now. He has actually. I don't know if I thought this through. So do you get? So it has to be like a cohesive paragraph, right? It can't just be like three separate ideas.
I guess I my
So I could.
So
I could.
I'll finish mine up and post it. Hold on. Let me kind
Well,
of like make it
well,
so
I
it's,
mean, we could write them all down and then have like a scribe, and then go through, talk about it, and then just have one person be the scribe and type it
okay.
out.
I mean, we could post them all and then we could like make a paragraph based off of our ideas.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, I have mine. I'm posting it. It's just a couple sentences, not you know.
Yeah, same here. Okay, I'm posting mine too. Okay,
All right, got mine in there.
sweet. Nice. I like your thought, Braden. See, can we from our discussion? Mine was like super general. I wasn't specific at all.
I mean that's probably better.
I don't know.
Then we have more to talk about. I mean, how big of a paragraph does it have to be?
5 to 6 sentences, I think. Okay. Should we just do a Frankenstein thing like this?
Yeah,
Just add also as like the transition word.
you could.
I don't think it's all that bad. Let's see.
I think. Well, then I'm gonna change some words here.
Should we change all the singular nouns to we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go team, go. I'll change your own, and then I don't know. Cool. That's awesome how we all wrote something different.
Yeah, perfect.
Nice.
Can I add one thing to yours, Cody, that I also like you made me
Yeah,
think of?
go for it.
Just how like you have to be willing to bite the bullet if
Hmm.
you're doing something that's not ethical.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, two. Mm, I don't know if I phrased that right, but whatever.
We could make it 2 sentences. Oh wait.
Okay.
Right. It looks good.
Oh, wait. In the accounting profession, we have to be willing to give in to following incentives. That's no. We have to.
Oh,
We have to. We have to.
do you mean just like unwilling?
Yeah, be unwilling. Be.
Willing to turn down incentives?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, willing to turn down and yeah. Incentives.
Solid.
Yeah, we have to be willing to turn down incentives, or if we realize we have bias, then we need to correct it, even if it does mean possibly losing a job to do what is ethical.
I like it.
All right.
Perfect. Okay, I'm copying and pasting this, putting it in a Word document, and submitting it.
Sweet.
All right.
Okay, let me do that. You go into our. Does the movie? What time does the movie start, Braden?
So I probably better get going.
That's at 7.
Yeah, it's at 7.
Is it at the theater?
Yeah, my friend's already left. I told him I'll just meet him there. I mean, there's still the previews and everything, but I probably better get going.
What are you going to see?
Strange or for what?
Yeah, Doctor Strange.
Nice. All right.
Let us know how it goes, and we'll
Yeah,
see.
for sure. I'll let you know. I'll give you a review of it.
Awesome.
Sweet.
If it's any good or not.
Awesome, man. All
All right,
right.
is there anything else we can do, guys?
I can't think of anything.
No, I think we're good.
Thanks for submitting it, Andreas.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you guys for your help. That was good. Good discussion.
Yeah. All right, I'll see you guys next week then.
Yeah.
See you guys
See you, Cody.
later.
Bye.